All right, welcome once again to another edition of your favorite Thursday evening talk show on Instagram, Head to Head, where I go head to head with purposeful, powerful individuals who have pioneered value adding ventures from the discovery of their purpose. Tonight is a great night. It's the last Thursday in the month of March. This is the last Thursday in the first quarter of the year 2023. And what have you done so far in the last 3 months? Do not despair if you think you have not achieved much with your dreams and your goals. This session is loaded, is power packed, is gonna bless you and inspire you, inform you, impact you, impart wisdom into your minds so that you can use your head to move ahead. Tonight is a great night. I have no doubts about that. So I'm gonna wait a bit for more of our followers to join in from Nigeria, Africa, the UK, Canada, and we also have viewerships from other places that I may not mention in this video. So please, wherever you're joining in from tonight, please type in your name and your location and possibly what you do. I'm so excited about what we are talking about tonight. Last week I had a speaking engagement for 3 days. Actually, my wife and I, you can see her picture up there, my favorita, we were at the Kingdom of Glory International Church, and it was such a great time. Once again, I do not know if the senior pastors will stumble on this video. I just want to appreciate Prophet and Pastor Samuel Olayinka Gibbs and his wonderful wife, Pastor Tosin. I beg your pardon, Pastor Tosin Olayinka Gibbs, for having us come equip, empower, and educate their workforce in the 3 days advanced conference. Peradventure, you are a pastor watching this, you can invite us from the Purpose Discovery Academy, a tag team, my wife and I. She was superb with the Kingdom Etiquette sessions. Even my eyes were opened to insights on how God would have you behave in an excellent manner to further advance your purpose on the earth. You must respect people, you must respect protocol, you must cultivate and develop that magnetic personality. But that's not what tonight is about. I just had to give you reasons why we were not live on air on IG last week Thursday. We were also impacting a group of committed soldiers of Christ in a part of town in Lagos, the Kingdom of Glory International Church. Such a great reception we had. So if you're a pastor watching this, you can invite us to come equip your people, your workforce, with the wisdom to serve Jesus, to take purpose to the ends of the earth. We need an army who are committed to doing that. All right, so tonight I'm going to be joined by the founder of the Greenhill Recycling. It's a recycling outfit in Lagos, but they have done amazing things. Okay, but before she comes in to join the conversation, I want to quickly talk about purpose and entrepreneurship. Purpose and entrepreneurship, because it is important for you to understand the concept of purpose being fulfilled through entrepreneurship. Okay, if you are going to follow and fulfill God's plan, you must develop entrepreneurial skills. But I just want to lay a foundation for before I would invite our guest tonight. So the word entrepreneur originates from a 13th century French verb which means to do something. To do something. A verb, like we were taught in school, is an action word. Okay, so the word entrepreneur means to do something, and it originated from a French verb from the 13th century. That same word metamorphosed to become a noun in the 16th century, and it means someone who undertakes a business venture. Okay. Thank you. I've seen our guest tonight. I'm going to invite you in shortly. Please just hold on a bit. I just want to lay a foundation before I bring you in. So, when we talk about purpose discovery, we are not talking about a mystical, impractical discovery you make and you just goof around. We're talking about discovering the core reason why God placed you on planet Earth. The intent, the original intent of God that He placed in your container. The content inside your container is what your purpose is. And you must realize this truth, that you are a solution to a specific problem. Remember, I'm just laying a foundation. Purpose and entrepreneurship. I just want to lay a foundation before I bring in our guest. So discovering your purpose, you must do that. But you can't fulfill your purpose if you don't develop entrepreneurial skills. You must be entrepreneurial. Remember, the word entrepreneur means to do something. God went into a production process to produce you when He realized that there was going to be a problem that would exist on planet Earth at the time that you will be born, so that you can discover His core reason and discover that you are actually the solution, or one of the solutions to the vicissitudes of problems we have on the earth. So discovering purpose is discovering the core value hidden inside of you. It also means discovering the problem you were born to solve. Once you discover purpose, one of the attributes that you will suddenly discover you have is the ability to spot unique problems that it seems those problems call your name. It's not even going to be about what you studied in school or what you did not study in school. You will just discover that you have a certain yearning and a longing towards a particular type of venture. All right. And entrepreneurship is the ability to do something, or someone who undertakes a business venture. So you must be able to marry the two together if you're going to live a fulfilling and fulfilled life on the earth. Now, this is the statement credited to God Almighty when He created you. Actually, I believe, is my personal belief from this statement, that God designed every human being to be an entrepreneur. You can't find God's purpose for your life and just sit down. Once you find purpose, you begin to take steps. You begin to act. Thank you, Wali Young, for joining. Please, can you type in where you're joining from tonight? Okay, so this is the statement that is credited to God Almighty when He created the first human beings. He said, and God blessed them, Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, and then He said, recycle the earth, replenish the earth. So the business that our guest does, I believe it's sourced from this statement that God made. He said, be fruitful, increase, multiply. Then He said, replenish the earth, fill the earth and subdue it, then take dominion. Wow. There are 4 things I would have shared, but I don't want to waste too much time. Take dominion over every living creature. Let me just quickly lay that as an emphasis. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, there are 4 V's that you must keep in mind. Number 1 is vision. Vision is the capacity to see what does not yet exist and see it with the eyes of your imagination as a possibility that can exist on the earth. The second thing is you must be value driven. You must be value driven. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, what's your value proposition? What is the value that will be added to human existence from your venture? That's why it's called add venture. You must add value through a venture to human beings, and that's what will make you a rich person on the earth. That's rich in cash and rich in other forms of reward. Because when you begin to enrich humanity with your core value, which is your purpose, that's when you become rich yourself. And that's who an entrepreneur is. Someone who undertakes a venture, who goes on an adventure, adding value to human beings. But the most powerful combination is to discover God's own reason for putting you on the earth, which is the core value inside of you, and then you add value to people through that venture. The third V you need as an entrepreneur is what I call vigor. You need vigor, vigorous energy. You need vigor to handle the rigors of entrepreneurial tasks, okay? You can't be lily-livered. You can't be faint-hearted. You need a lion's heart to get the lion's share. It's not going to be easy to undertake a new task, to pioneer a new business. You need vigor. Vigor does not just refer to your physique on the outward. I'm talking about the composition of your spirit and your soul. You must have a very, very well-developed, well-nourished inner being. You must garnish your soul and your spirit with the right knowledge. Clothe yourself with wisdom. Don't just get into any adventure without first, loading your head with the right information, right knowledge. And then the last V is velocity. If you're going to be an entrepreneur that will become a brand, a solution to the problems of nations, you must begin to think from the word go of how you are going to scale up. Velocity talks about speed and also mass production. God said, be fruitful, multiply. So you must think of how you're going to serve the masses. A large number of people on the earth must use your product. According to some statistics that I have, that every human being at the end of their lives would have at least influenced 10,000 people. That's the most reserved of the 4 personality types. So if you are not even very outgoing, at the end of your life, you would at least have influenced 10,000 individuals. My question to you before I invite our guest in tonight is, let's assume it's only 10,000 human beings that come across you or come across your name. What product or what service, what new value will you have developed and distributed to life that you came on earth that will add value to them? What question would you answer? You will get some answers tonight as I invite our guest. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Start this very interesting, insightful conversation. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Mr. Purpose International, the founder of Africa's premier and leading Purpose and Self-Discovery Academy for young people, started in the year 2011, and we have caught our teeth in the area of purpose discovery and purpose mastery and leadership amongst young people. Excuse me. So you can send us a DM if you have a group of teenagers or young people that you would like to equip, empower, educate in the area of purpose mastery, purpose discovery, purpose education. In this age and times, we are no longer going to ask you, what did you study in school? The question will be, what value can you add? What value can you bring to the table? And I make bold to say to you that you are a solution to one of the problems in the nations of the world. Okay, I thought I accepted earlier. I'm trying to bring in our guest into the conversation. Please begin to send this video to all your friends. Begin to send this live video to all your friends. Thank you. As you do that, the connection will. Please, Mrs. Lawani, if you can hear me, can you request again? I've accepted your request for you to come live with me. I don't know why. Okay, wait. Let me. So I'm inviting you afresh now. Okay. Okay, Mrs. Lawani, I've sent you a fresh invite. Please just see from your end how you can quickly join. So let me begin to read the profile of our guest tonight. Wow, such a loaded profile. Mariam Lawani is a multi-award winning environmental enthusiast. You can hear me. Okay, I just sent you the request again. So check whether you can see it so that you can accept. So let me get back to her profile. Mariam Lawani is a multi-award winning environmental enthusiast. She is the founder of Greenhill Recycling, a social enterprise addressing poverty, unemployment, and climate change. An alumnus of the United States Department Program, Academy for Women Entrepreneur, AWE, 2022, Cherry Blair Foundation for Women, alumnus of the United States Carrington Youth alumnus, Faith Foundation alumnus, and also several organizations that she has gone through their developmental programs. Mariam continues to lead social change, environmental impact, and great interventions focused on mitigating health risks in indigent communities. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we will, okay? The network will work. We're going to have a join in if, yes, the network will work. Okay. All right. Here we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, if your hands are not too busy, from the comforts of your homes, can you put a round of applause? Can you put your hands together for Mrs. Lawani, Mrs. Mariam Lawani?
Hi, can you hear me well?
I can hear you, I can see you, and thank you so much for accepting to share your story, share insights with our viewers, our viewers, our followers who love to learn on how they can move their purpose to the next level, because purpose is what we teach, but many times some people are very confused about how do they find purpose, how do they merge what they have discovered into gain. You know, everybody wants to make money and survive, and not just survive but thrive, you know. So, and immediately I met you. Within 5 minutes I just knew that, okay, this woman's story is so powerful and we have to have you, and you obliged. So thank you very much for accepting the invitation on short notice. Okay, so please, for those who are just meeting you for the first time, I read your profile while we're trying to bring you up live. For those who are meeting you for the first time, could you please introduce yourself? Not what you do first, but who you are. Just tell us about yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Mariam Lawani. Not what I do. Okay. I don't know how to introduce myself without saying what I do.
That was the trick. All right, so just introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and any other thing you would like people to know about you.
My name is Mariam Lawani. Like I said earlier, I'm the founder of Greenhill Recycling. Um, I'm a mom of two,
Okay.
very happily so. I'm passionate about the things that, you know, add to humanity.
Okay.
Passionate about things that improve the lives of others. Um, yeah, and I'm a lover of God. I try to
Okay.
please God in all that I do. That's basically it. Yeah, of course I'm happily married.
Yeah.
Because you
Okay.
can be a mother of two and not be married, right?
I'm
But
not be
yeah,
married. I wanted you to quickly
I'm
clarify that. Please,
very,
she is happily
very,
married. So please, guys,
very
nobody should
happily
send
married.
any secret DM that I love your smile, I love your grin. Please, none of that. She's happily married. And all right,
Very.
while I was trying to bring you up, I saw for the very first time since I've been born again, reading the Bible. I actually saw that the business you do predated back to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. It was God, God said, God blessed them. I said, be fruitful, multiply. Then he said, replenish the earth, recycle.
Oh
That's,
yeah. Oh yeah.
so you are actually fulfilling one of the mandates that God gave to human beings, the first set of human beings. So before we jump ahead of ourselves, please tell us about your childhood and your hobbies. I see you have a lot of fans. All your fans are just hailing
Oh
you.
my devil. I can see Victor. Yeah, Victor, you're not serious. You hear me?
So I'm
Don't
very glad
mind
that
them.
you have fans who have joined us tonight. So please, if you are Mariam Lawani's fan, just make sure you send this video to all your contacts and make her feel loved. So please tell us about your childhood and your hobbies. What were your hobbies as a girl child growing up without worries at that time? So tell us about your childhood.
Okay, so I'm the fourth and the last child.
Okay.
Uh, and of course, being in that position, I enjoyed, a lot of privileges um, from my older siblings who were way older than me. And of course, being dotted as the last child. Uh, Bill, please can you tell these people to stop sending all these comments? Block
Yeah,
all of them from. Oh my
Let's just
God!
focus on the
Don't
conversation.
mind, don't mind me. I'm
It's
just,
part
I'm
of the
just messing
system.
around. Yeah. So, I really liked to dance. I still do.
Okay,
Um, yeah. So that was one thing I really, really liked to do. I liked to sing. I liked to dance. I think I would say that would be one of the most memorable things. I usually enjoyed my own company, so you would hardly catch me, out and about. I wasn't the most popular of the siblings. We
okay,
had the very popular ones, so um, I was very okay just being indoors, being, by myself, but I really, really, really love to dance.
oh
So
wow,
yeah, that I think that would be that I would identify as an hobby growing up.
okay.
Without
So you
saying
didn't
much.
have, okay, I was trying to see whether you had a hobby that was connected to what you do today, because there's a school of thought in uh, the work I do is help people find God's purpose for their lives. And one of the trends from statistics is that a lot of people actually have been living their purpose from an earlier age, but they did not recognize the
Mm,
patterns or the potential they were exuding from a tender age. like a human being walking around with closed eyes, so they don't recognize what their area of greatness is. Also, because a lot of parents did not know that their children were given to them by God for them to help them discover his own purpose for their life. What a lot of parents did in our generation was to try and make the child go in the way of their own dream that was not fulfilled.
Absolutely.
So many adults today are adulterated because their parents interrupted with God's plan, with God's purpose for their lives, and said, I couldn't be a doctor, so you, my favorite child, you must go and study medicine. Meanwhile, maybe the gift that that child has is to be a shoemaker, to make fantastic shoes. And the father will say, God forbid. No, God forbid my child. So that's why I was trying to see whether you had some peculiarities that were already pointing to what you do today. So can you cast your mind back again and see?
Not particularly the case. So besides, of course, I mean, we grew up as a young child, we grew up amongst nature, right? I had a very large compound with a lot of trees. I always tell my kids and my spouse how there was almost no fruit tree that we didn't have in our compound growing up, right? And of course I wasn't an exception to that, go in this path. Like my parents always thought, my father always thought I was going to be the doctor of the family, so they were always, I mean, I was very little, very tiny and very smart, and my mouth was very sharp, and all those sort of things. So they start already seeing, this one is going to be a very fantastic doctor, one lawyer or something, so I wasn't an exception to that pattern or that trend as well, where your parents sort of want to desire the path that you would take in life. Then I studied microbiology, so maybe and my focus area was in environmental microbiology, so maybe that would have started making me, be more aware about some of the trends and patterns in the environment, and how they were very serious issues that needed attention. But I wouldn't. I don't. Besides that, besides being in the midst of nature, growing up, I won't necessarily stay. I don't know. Like you said, I might not have figured it out, but I don't know that there was anything in my childhood that really pointed me to what I'm doing today. Before I started Greenhill Recycling, I actually taught, right? So that was never in my radar. Like I would never had, I mean, I remember still receiving my posting letter and I started crying. Like, who did I offend? Why would they send me to a school, right? Like, why? When all my mates were going to oil companies and the likes, how those, how those, how you want to work in some without giving free adverts to anybody, but some of these big names and all that, so I was broken, I was very upset. And even though I had the opportunity to get another posting letter if I wanted at that time, I didn't. I just I thought to myself, okay, let's see what this even looks like. Let me even go and see. And I did. And when I got to the place, I was like, okay, this doesn't look so bad. It might not be an oil company, but it looks like an oil company. So, so that was it. I taught for about a decade, and then I stepped out to do Greenhill. So, yeah, I know I don't look like
about
it.
a decade.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. I was going to ask you a second question, which you seem to have answered, but let me still find a way to bring it into our conversation. So I wanted you to give us your educational history, which you have already done. And the question was going to be, do you think what you studied kind of prepared you for the business of recycling? You know, so you studied microbiology in the university or as
Yeah.
an
So my first,
alternate program?
no.
As your first
So my
degree?
first, yes, from the University of Port Harcourt. I studied microbiology first degree, and then I went on to do an MBA. Actually, before the MBA, I actually did a couple of professional courses at the Pan Atlantic University, social sector management courses, a lot of, courses, short courses, some 6 months, some 3 months, some physical, virtual, just to sort of, when I then realized that that was the path that I wanted to go, I took on a lot of professional courses. And then I did an MBA in 2019, 2020, at the African Leadership University School of Business in Rwanda. Basically, that's my educational background so far, and of course, I'm still taking on a lot of courses as I go on.
Courses, okay. This question is not part of what I sent to you, but to be a successful entrepreneur, there are leadership skills to develop, or natural. Some people have it naturally in a raw form. Some have to learn it because these skills are teachable and learnable. So I want to go back to your secondary school days. Were you a prefect? Were you a prefect? Were you the bold, outgoing type that loved adventure, that used to usually, there were some students, or let me call it, yes, there are some people have this natural ability to lead other people, influence people to try new things, even while they were in school. Were you that kind of girl who was usually who had the greater influence amongst her peers, And looking at you, I'm sure you must have had a clique of fine girls that will all roll together.
Oh yeah, I had a clique of fine girls. As in, I have to say that one. And then, interestingly, I was one of the youngest. So, excuse me, when it comes to being bold and outspoken or being courageous, I think that has been innate, right? Like I even till date and forever, I just feel like there's really nobody that I can't talk to. What's the worst that can happen? You tell me no, right? That's the worst that can happen. So, and that has actually always worked for me. There's really nobody I cannot walk up to and speak to, right? So that timidity has never been in my DNA ever. And then because I was the youngest, so most of my friends, my girls that, we've been together since we were young, are actually maybe like 2 years or a year older than me. Almost all. Hello. Okay.
I can hear you. I'm with you.
Okay, you froze for a bit. Okay, so I had to sort of stand up for myself, if you understand what that means. I had to always stand up for myself. I had to, so that I won't be the last to choose the piece of meat, or those sort of things. And I'm being honest, so being outspoken, trying to have some level of influence, that's always happened, because I didn't want to be put under. I was in a boarding school. You know how it is in boarding school in Nigeria.
I was going to mention that you sound like a boarding school student.
No. I was in the boarding school. I was in a federal government college. So you needed to, you needed to stand up for yourself. Yeah, there's no mommy or daddy there, so so I think that also helped in terms of having some level of influence and being outspoken and being bold. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Okay, let's get a bit into the crux of the matter. When I'm coaching people on purpose discovery, I tell them that the secret of their future is in their daily routine. The secret of their future, secret of your future is in your daily routine. But there's usually a specific season that everybody comes into, that aha moment or that eureka moment, like, wow, this is now what I'm supposed to be doing with the rest of my life. Like Jacob in the Bible, I'm not ashamed to go there. Jacob had a Bethel experience where he now said, oh, wow, God has been here and I did not even know it. I have that kind of moment. So when did you discover your purpose for being on the earth? And then how did you discover it? You know, so when and how? Can you remember exactly what happened? Some people discover purpose because they had a breakup with their first love. You know, they will now go to God, they'll cry. Some discover purpose because they lost money maybe in their early business, so they were broke, busted, and disgusted. The only person they could go to was God. Some either through meeting a mentor, you know, but we teach purpose discovery in a curriculum, a systemized way. So I always like to hear other people's stories so that we can add to our notes. Let me put it that way. So please, can you share how the recycler discovered her cycle of purpose? Let me put that question that way.
So I don't remember the dates. I wish I did. But I know that I got to a point in my career where, my previous career, when I realized that, you know, there was more to me. It's just, so yes, I was having impacts. I mean, the other day, one young lady I thought is now going to be a mom, soon to be a mom. I was like, I mean, what? You know? So, and we've had these relationships for that long to let you know how much impact I really did have in their lives, right? So I did it. I taught them beyond the subject that I was meant to teach. But, you know, I counseled them. They were my buddies. They were my friends, even though I was, you know, older than them and all that. Yeah. Right, exactly. So I knew that, you know, I was impacting lives in that space, as it were. But around 2015, 2016, I just knew that there was much more. I remember when I had this conversation with my husband, and I was like, there's more to me, right? I can't be like this. You know, there's just so much more to me than this. And yes, I'm having impact. I can even impact a lot more people, you know. Yeah. I can solve a bigger problem. Yes, education is a problem in our society, in Nigeria and everything. But you see, the beautiful thing now is that even what we are doing, we're using recycling to actually address gaps in education, as well as so many other sectors, in the health sector, you know, in education, you know, so in enterprise, you know. So I just got this burning desire to know that I can't be here. I can't just be here like this. I'm counting youngs, you know. It's just not my path. And it almost seemed like once that burning desire got, because I mean, I even took a very, very drastic, what people would call a very drastic and audacious step. It was as if something was burning in me, like I couldn't wait. It was at the point where I actually would have, quote and unquote, had an advantage for the rest of maybe for the next 10, 15 years, in the sense that even my own children were going to benefit, you know, from that system. It was at that point that seemed the most critical, the most, what people would, you understand, look up to. Oh, now that, it's time for you to start, quote and unquote, reaping or enjoying the benefits of having been here, is when you now say you want to leave, you know. So a lot of people didn't understand it.
Yes, they were not seeing what you were seeing.
Oh yeah, and a lot of people didn't believe in what I know. A lot of people didn't be, they
Wow.
didn't understand it. So they were like, "Are you joking? You want to leave this? You're
Hmm.
working in a British organization
Eviction.
that people are aspiring to come in, and you say you want to leave that and go and be picking plastics. Are you okay?" You know, like people actually asked
Let me
me if
show
I
you.
was okay. Yeah, if I was okay. And if I heard
Wow.
from God, somebody actually asked me, "Are you sure you did God say?" That was his exact word. I will never forget. Did God say? Are you sure God said? You know, so there were those earlier phases of doubt. Maybe I was a bit ahead of my time. I don't know, but you know, funny enough, it was later. Some of my colleagues then, I still remember one very vividly, Victoria Akudike. We used to call her last name was Akudike before she got married. And she used to tell me, "Oh, do you remember then when we were on duty at the talk shop and you always used to talk about this thing?" I was like, I didn't realize that I
Wow.
used to talk to you about this so much, you
Wow.
know? So apparently I used to talk about it with a lot of even my colleagues then. I still
Mhm.
remember another of my colleague, Dino. She said to me, "Babe, you remember that time that you were like, man, I have to go and do this. Even if it doesn't work, at least I tried." And I was
That's
like,
the
"Oh,
daily
really?"
routine
So,
thing I mentioned earlier. That's the
you know,
daily
so,
routine thing. Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so apparently it was burning so much.
Mm.
And I just left, you know. And then, especially when I realized that I was beginning to cheat my employer. So, if you're listening today and you realize that all the spare time you have, you are
Mm-hmm.
using it to research in one particular direction, it's like almost like it's pulling you,
You
like there's this earth pull towards that direction. And
a
you're cheating
magnetic
because
force.
I didn't feel comfortable cheating my employer. Every spare time I will use company internet, may God forgive me, to research, to Google, you know. So it was just so much. And I left. I left in the middle of term. I actually didn't even wait to the end of the, I forfeited.
Wow.
There was a huge amount of money they were supposed to give to us if you waited to the end of the term. My conscience didn't just allow me. So I was like, I
Mm.
just left,
Mm.
you know. And even though they thought, you know, I was being poached by competitors in the education sector, I was like,
Sector.
no, I'm going to do my own thing, you know. Um, they
Mm.
tried to keep me, but it was way beyond how much more money I could be offered, you know. It was
Wow.
way more beyond that.
It was more like
And so I
it was
left.
time for you to answer the call over your life. Like
It was time.
like the way
It
like the way
definitely was time.
Moses, yeah, the way scriptures refer to Moses, that he left the pleasures of Egypt and decided to he saw joining the Israelites as a more comfortable place to be in than being in the
Absolutely.
palace. Wow, that's awesome. And the life of a pioneer is filled with so much uncertainty at
Ah.
the beginning. At the beginning. So, what were the practical steps that you took to turn your discovery of this assignment into some tangible value? Because the typical person, I remove the brand name so that I don't advertise for anybody. The typical person, once we are done with the content in this container, we
Yeah, throw
just
it away.
fling it. Some people even throw it on the floor. Some have the decency to keep it in their car till they get to a trash bin. But you were catching a vision to convert trash into profit, into treasure. So that's why I just said, man, I have to bring this woman to talk about her vision. So what were the practical steps that you took? I saw in your profile that you've done a lot of courses to develop yourself. But at the beginning, what were the practical steps that you took to create value for people to now see and believe in what you were seeing?
It's interesting that one of those first few soldiers that I have or that I had at that time is actually on this call.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, Victor. Um, so, and I mean, he says he believed in me, so I guess that's why. So besides having the conversation first, right? I would say very boldly today that I'm able to achieve all that I'm achieving today, first with the help of God, and secondly with the support of a loving husband. Like you can't take away that part of a supportive spouse, right? Because I've seen people, I've had conversations of people who, you know, even their spouses are the ones who stifle, you know, God's plans and you know, vision for their own lives. So I think the first thing I did when I remember, a lot of people didn't understand it, a lot of people didn't believe in what I was going to do, was to sit my husband down and have a conversation with him. And I said to him, see you, it go rough. He was like, for how long? I said, I don't know how long, but it go rough, you know. Excuse me. Because I mean, coming from a place where you had a salary that was, you know, confirmed, constant and stable and confirmed, you know, it was almost like clockwork to a point where 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, no alarm, no alert, not even flash, you know. So it wasn't funny, you know, and we had to have that conversation because a lot of things could go wrong in that at that stage, right? And then when we were past that, one of the first few things that I did actually was to act. You know, I had done a lot of research. I was discovering more. The more I was discovering, the more inquisitive I was getting. That's another thing I know I do very well. I'm a very inquisitive person. I want to know. I want to explore, basically. I'm not afraid to try anything. Yes. You know, so after all of that, I then actually started to act. So at the time, all we could afford was a 120-liter bin, wheeler bin. Okay. That was all we could afford at the time. And we got what's this thing called now? Flight sticker, like a sticker poster, and stamped on it. And my first point of call actually was my church. You know, those were my people, my real MVPs. One of them is here today, to the glory of God. Victor
please mention the name of your church.
My church is called Solomon's Porch Pentecostal Ministries. It's a small family church somewhere in Ogun State. Yes, it's in Ogun State. So yes, I leave Lagos to Ogun State every Sunday, in case you want to know. And every other Friday, and every other time I have to be there. So it's fine. You don't ask any more questions. But yeah, so that's I mean, because they were my first go-to people, right? Remember, I'm the last child. I didn't have younger siblings or anybody I could. So we would go out. So my people from church, from Magboro, would follow. Maybe when we have vigils on Fridays, they would come with me to Lagos. We would go on the streets. They were my soldiers. I had no staff. I had nobody. You know, we'll go on the streets. We'll talk to people. We'll distribute flyers. So I was able to print on flyers at the time. We'll go knocking on people's doors, you know, talking to them, enlightening them, sensitizing them.
Were you asking them to help you keep their trash?
Yes.
To keep it together?
Yeah. So at the time, we weren't able to afford any incentives or anything. So we're actually just asking them, oh, can you just, rather than throw this away, do you know the impact it has on the environment? Why don't you gather it? We'll come and pick it up. So we're handing them bags, you know, to help them collect these things. Actually, I'm actually getting emotional now that I think about these things because, you know, except you talk about it, you don't realize how far God has brought you, you know.
Yes.
I remember Sister Gift, well, man, we'll go all the way to Ikeja, we'll go to some big hotels, maybe, you know, and then we went to some hotels, some of them will give us the list of the days that they had events and say, well, if you can come and pick it up, come and pick it up. But you know, our staff won't do it. You just have to do it. That's your, you know, your business. They gave us access because for a lot of them, they used to throw it away. They didn't
It was
they really
waste.
don't understand. And then they
Yeah.
see me, they're like, "Ah, are you okay? How do you want to? What are you using these things for?" You know, so
Wow.
we'll gather these things. I used to use my own personal vehicle. We'll move them to somewhere in Ikeja, collect them there for a while, and then gradually start moving them to Isolo. I actually started from my garage, the garage of my house,
Wow.
you know, start moving them, you know. So that was actually how I just put action into it. The very first day I can still remember, we took that wheeler bin, we just hit the road and we're pushing it. That was all we had. It was our billboard, it was our everything, it was our
Your mobile off.
TV advert, it was our mobile everything, that bin, you know. And at the time, I think we could afford 2 or 3. We put one in one eatery down the road, and then we're just
Okay.
going around with one, you know, and talking to people. So that's basically how it started. And then, of course, I visited some people that had gone ahead of us, you know. One of them is
Okay.
on this call this evening. His name is
Oh,
Waste
wow.
Chief. His name is Mazu Kono of
Oh,
Recycle Points. So when
wait,
I
Chief,
then
we
realized,
celebrate you, sir.
oh, yes,
Yes.
because I mean, it's important for you to talk about those who got placed at different stages on your journey,
Yeah,
you know. So
absolutely.
um, we weren't dodgy about it. We're very open to say, oh, this is what we're thinking to do. You know, can you, you know, put us through? So we went, visited their hub at the time, saw what they were doing, asked a few questions, you know, and then we went and developed our own model based off of
Model.
some of
Yeah.
those research that we've done, some of the questions we've asked, and we just hit the road, really. That was how it started, and how
Wow.
they, like they say, the rest is history after that. You just start putting yourself out there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
joining the right associations, engaging with the right people, you know, just putting your work out there. I remember then when we collect 3 bags, you know, those brown, oh man, those brown bags, they write say 120 kg or 80
Yeah.
kg on, you know,
Yeah.
those sacks, what we call
Yes.
sacks. When we collect 3 of those sacks, hey, as in the excitement like this,
Excitement. Wow.
you have hit, you know, we used to be so over the moon, we scale it. We would, even my mom, it's amazing, you know, my mom then, I remember there was a time she came around, I think on Mugwo, I can't remember what she came to do in Lagos. And she used to help us sort, you know, like sit down, take out the labels and all that. So
Mm.
it's amazing now that I think about all of this and talk about them.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. I
I
have
can't
a saying. I
get
have a
to tomorrow.
wow. Beautiful. I have a saying that if the path, no, rather, if the path is beautiful, ask where it leads. But if the
Mm, mm,
destination
mm,
is beautiful, don't mind the path. I'll
mm,
say it again. If the path is
mm.
beautiful, ask where it leads. But if the destination is beautiful and is glorious, then don't mind how rough the path might seem. I
Mm.
see what Waste Chief just posted. Without commitment, you will never start. But
Oh
more
yeah,
importantly, without consistency, you will
yeah.
never finish. You know, and
Mm,
so, you know, we have a lot of young people today who desire greatness. They admire people who are today at the top.
but
They
don't
even put them
put it
on
in
their
words.
status and all of that. But many of them are not willing to pay the price. Many of them, you know, the it's coming to me more now. I'm seeing that the principles and the patterns are the same. When we also
Absolutely.
started the purpose school, when God gave me the idea and the vision, I was like, is anybody going to pay for this idea? And God said, yes, it's going to be based on how you pursue it and how passionate you are. So we went from school to school. I was teaching it free of charge, going from one school to another school, all over the entire mode of axis. And bam, and the 10th school where I spoke for 10 minutes, some old students came for the school's valedictory service and heard me teach for 10 minutes. I taught from one of the courses for the 10 minutes, and boom, they paid for the graduating students, all the graduating students, that they were going to sponsor them to attend the purpose school. And that was our first breakthrough that gave me faith that, wow, okay, this is a scalable idea. So if you are watching this, any young person watching this, or even if you are not young, and maybe you're in your 40s, but there's been this idea that's been with you since you were a teenager, you got your 20s, your 30s, the idea has not left you, then it's time for you to act on that idea. Because a good idea is like a baby crying in a church during a sermon. You have to carry it out. You have to, you have to carry out that baby so that baby doesn't die with you. So next question, please share. You've shared it, but I want you to specifically mention some crucial challenges you had at the beginning and how you were able to overcome it. You've shared some of them. You didn't have staff. People didn't understand what you were doing. Some people thought you were out of your mind. You know, why would you leave such a stable job in a British educational institution, you know, come out of that? But what were some other Goliaths that you faced, and how did you knock out those Goliaths? Did God give you some revelation? Did you got mentoring from Waste Chief? But what were some? Can you remember the first time you got paid? What were the things that you did before your first paycheck came in that you can share with us tonight to inspire some people?
Oh, definitely, of course. I can remember the first time I got paid. after several movements of plastics from one end of Lagos to the other. Of course, it wasn't commensurate in any shape, way, or form to how much effort had been put in. Like I said earlier, some of the people were just doing it for me pro bono. You know, they were not expecting me to pay them or be on a salary or anything like that. You know, so it was several months of accumulating plastics, picking from the heaps or bins or what have you, and then we got one of the end users to come load the plastics. You see the huge truck they used to load all of these plastics. We were so excited, super excited. In our minds, we've hit jack. And then it went back to their factory and they weighed it, and it was like, maybe like 800 kg or 1 ton or something. Wow. Outrageously. And I was like, wait, what? After how many months? After all of this? After my fuel, you know? But I just didn't give up, truly. I just didn't. So there were times that I actually had certain revelations, like dreams, like God showed us ahead what our factory looked like. Because I can't sit here and I'm sure God will not forgive me if I lie about that or I don't talk about it, you know. And it might encourage another.
Yeah, thank you for talking
encourage another person, you know. So apart from the fact that our name Greenhill is actually scriptural from Matthew 5:14, a city that is set upon a hill cannot be hid.
Oh yes.
You know?
Oh yes.
Apart from that, the name came from God, of course, and there were several times that I had dreams, you know, very clear. I can still remember those dreams, you know, showed us our factory, showed us different things. And so I knew that God's hand was in it. And every time where it seemed, then another thing that happened very consistently, because there were several times I'm like, you know what, I'm done, man. What is all this, you know? And then something would just happen. Maybe one big organization that I wasn't even looking, you know, I didn't even know existed, would reach out. You know, something would happen. Somebody would say, oh, we heard your story. Where did you hear my story from? I didn't send it to you. You know, God would just do something that would make me realize I'm still in this matter. If you try yourself, better not move, you know? So those things happened, but it wasn't funny. There wasn't money. We needed machine. We needed space. Do you know how many places we went to? We'll go to this place, they'll tell us. There was one particular place, that one, man. We built, at the time, what we could build was, roof, old roof. Zinc now, we sort of used it as fence around some place that was waterlogged and sawdusted, all sorts. These guys waited for us. They didn't say anything at the beginning, when we started the process. They waited. Do you know, that money was hard earned. Like, the day we finished and put a padlock and we're like, now we have our own place. They came and said that in this community that they don't fence round, that everybody must be seeing what everybody is doing. I'm like, wait, what? You waited until we finished. So there were plenty, So we needed space. We needed logistics was an issue. We needed machines, because if you want to scale in the recycling business, you need machines, to move up the value chain. It wasn't just only about collecting from one place and then selling off. Remember, I told you after that whole truck was weighed. It was so little, because the plastics are very light, right? They might be plenty and everything. They have they cover a huge surface area, but they're very light in terms of their weight. So all of those things, initially, I was able to raise some funds. I was working, right? So at the time before I actually left, before I resigned, I had started, quote unquote, test running, right? So I was still actively working. Yes, I was still actively working, but Greenhill had started gaining some level of momentum. Like if you had Googled at the time, you would see Greenhill, right? So I was using my salary and, of course, support from my spouse, maybe a few friends and family who were like, your wallet is too much, take. I don't know what you're doing, but, that kind of a thing.
Investors.
Let's even see how far. Some of them did it to say, let's see how far this will take you. So we had all that at the initial stage, tried to fabricate some machines locally,
Wow.
So funding was an issue. Logistics was a major nightmare, still is till today, especially around a place like Lagos where, there's traffic everywhere, space. The recyclables we collect they cover a huge surface area. So you need space to do all of these things. So all of these things were viable challenges that we experienced at the beginning. But at every stage, God always raised someone or always did something not to make me give up totally. And that's the truth. At every point in my journey, God would do something that would make me think that, okay, God is here. Let's keep pushing. So that's basically it.
Wow. Like I said at the beginning, though it sounded like a joke, God himself is the author of the recycling industry. Because in Genesis 1:28, yes, he said, replenish the earth. He doesn't see any item as a waste product. God even used darkness. He created light out of darkness. There's this riddle that Samson gave the Philistines to unravel. And in that riddle, I still see recycling business in that riddle. He said, out of the eater came something sweeter. The carcass of the lion. So who would look at a pile of waste and see value in it? It's only God that has that kind of capacity. And he placed different dimensions of himself in each of us to discover. I'm in the industry where we voice out thoughts and give it some form, and it moves people to action. That's exactly what God is. He's a speaking spirit. He spoke the earth into existence. So meanwhile, some other people can't even speak up to save their own lives. They are so shy, they are so timid. but they have their own unique area of intelligence. Some of them, maybe
Yeah.
it's dancing. Some of them is cooking. You know, I can't
Yeah.
dance to save my life. You know, I danced on my wedding day. I rehearsed it for, I rehearsed it for so long, and I just made sure I did those two moves: to the left, to the right, to the left, and to the right. And I was just holding my wife for support so that I don't dance offbeat. You know, so so our passion is to see every human being discover their area of advantage, and you are doing such a massive work that I believe the government of Lagos, let's start with Lagos, should, I believe, I don't know, but that's where I'm going to now. I want to assume, I want to believe that in 7 years, you should already have at least attracted some form of government recognition and support, because you are also like, you're doing something that the government ought to be doing. That's clearing up waste. You know, they would rather just clear the waste and go throw it somewhere. But you are creating fresh value. You are replenishing the earth. So that's where I want us to get into now. The juicy season, when when things began to turn, you know. So I see your profile that you're a multiple award winner of several inspiring awards. So tell us, how did that come about? Then also tell us some of the accomplishments that you have now. From what you have been saying so far, I think you already have a factory, but I believe you may want a bigger one, you know, and receive it in Jesus' name. So, but
Amen.
tell us how,
Amen.
tell us how some of these things happened, and then we'll now go to your advice to your younger self, your 16-year-old version of you. But tell us your accomplishments, the 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 recycling business for you so far. When did they begin to tip into more positive things than the struggles?
Okay, so I would say maybe just prior to COVID. Okay, just to answer the bit around the government support. Yeah, of course, we to the glory of God. I mean, I try not to the glory of God today. I'm sure if you Google recycling companies in Nigeria, Greenhill must pop up, right? It's a given. So we are ably recognized by the state government, at least of Lagos State. And interestingly, I also sit as the deputy secretary of the Lagos State Recyclers Association. We're actually elected, you know, about 7 or 10 of us to pioneer that association, and we've been serving for, this is the 2nd year now, right? So we are definitely ably recognized by the state. The support bit, well, I will just not talk about that part. But I know that, you know, there are beautiful days ahead. Yes, the government has done what, I mean, some they've done some. It would be fraudulent to say that, oh, we've not received any form of support from the government. No, that's not true. I mean, there was
let
a
me just
time.
ask you, I want to clarify. Was the support from the government more from a structural support, or financial support, or policy support? Did they reduce your taxes? Okay, Greenhill, you're not paying taxes, or they gave you cash, or they gave you land. So
Okay, so I didn't want to talk about this because I didn't want to paint anybody in the wrong direction, with the wrong paintbrush. Initially, yes, they gave us access to a space, but I mean, somehow they took it back. Let me just end it there, you know. But there was a time when they offered us a vehicle, you know, like a mini van, which by the grace of God we have more than one of right now of our own. There was a time when at that time they offered us that to do, you know, we had to fuel it and pay, and you know, they were paying the driver, but we had to fuel it and then just provide some stipend to the driver as well. So we're using that for, you know, collection.
Okay.
That happened for a couple of months. Besides that, well, through the Lagos State Recyclers Association, we've been able to get the government to sort of like have a rebate or a discount on the fees that recyclers have to pay, annual dues that they have to pay. So that is some other level of support, maybe not to me alone, but to every other recycler in Lagos State. Yeah, but besides that, really, and honestly, a lot of times when I think about that land part, it leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. So I don't want to talk about it. Not today, you know. So let's move on. Yeah. So you were asking me.
How did you get the awards that you were nominated for? Yeah.
So actually, for some of them, they reached out to us. So I mean, for example, the CNN. Oh yeah, for the CNN interview, we were. Okay, so when they kicked us out of the space, there's no way to even say the story without going back to that.
Say the story.
When the government,
I'm going to talk about that at the end of this.
The government of that time kicked us out of the space, we had to go look out for, you know, because we felt like we're critical stakeholders to the work that the state achieves, right? Collectively.
Yes.
So you should be behind us 24/7, you know, giving us all the support that we desire. Exactly. Yes. Giving us all the support that we desire. But I guess that didn't happen in our case. So we had to go out looking for a space. I still remember, you know, on 2 occasions, God is awesome, Sha. On 2 occasions, the first time was when we got our first tricycle. I remember vividly that it was like there was somebody beside me. He said to me, get in the car and drive. I'm like, okay, where am I going to? You know? And I was just driving. I went out. I went through Abimbola Way, somewhere like the industrial area in Isolo. Yeah. And he said, stop here. And I'm like, okay. And I stopped. It was literally as if somebody was with me, you know, on that journey. And that was how God led us to where we got our tricycle. Our rugged, I call the tricycle Ruggedy Baba, because that tricycle has another tricycle. With that one tricycle, if you know the things because that was all we had, and there was no need lying about anything or saying you had what you didn't. So we will stand very boldly in front of. We branded. You see the way we branded that tricycle, eh? We will stand in front of the tricycle and pitch. I'm telling you. At the time we started getting certain support. Most of the support we've actually gotten are outside of this country, sadly so, you know. Yes, so most of the funding, international support we've gotten are outside of the country. It was that tricycle. We'll stand behind it and pitch. That was our backdrop, as it were. You know, so that was when God led me to that. It's amazing. It's very mysterious, you know. And I think just to jump ahead to that question, I think one of the things I would say to my 16-year-old self is seek God early. As in, if I had sought God earlier than when I started, oh boy. As in, because he just shows you everything. He just tells you. It's like you then seem like there's some extra that you have or you're doing. But he's just telling you. The same thing for that space thing as well. When we were looking for space, I had not been in that area prior to that time. Like there was nothing that would take me in that direction. It was mechanic village. I had my own mechanic that used to come and, you know, fix our cars at home or anything. So there was really no reason for me to go there. I can't even remember now that I think about it, how I found myself on that mechanic village road. And I still remember vividly the man. He was wearing a green t-shirt. His name is he calls himself Golden Eaglet, but I mean that's his guy name. Elderly man. And God said, stop there, speak to that man. I passed several people. I walked past several. He said that one wearing green. So I went to him. Baba, I don't know Baba from anywhere. He was just sitting in front. He's a panel beater in that mechanic
Okay,
village.
mechanic
And
village.
I just went to him and I said, Baba, that I greeted him. And I don't even speak Yoruba fluently, so really there was no. So I went to him and I was speaking pidgin that I'm looking for space, that this is what I do, I'm looking for space. And he was like, eh. And there was space right in front of where we were having the conversation, right? Okay, now I remember. Somebody had told me, somebody had given me insight that, I'm looking for space, so that I should go to that area, that there's some
Okay.
space close to their church and everything. But I didn't know who to speak to. I didn't know who to talk to. And that day I just went and God said, talk to Baba. So I told Baba and I was like, see what we wanted to do. He said, well, this place belongs to a church. That's the church opposite. You can go and meet them, but I'm sure they won't give it to you. And I'm like, okay, no problem. Oh, yes. I'm sure they won't give it to you. So I said, okay, no problem. But of course, you know me now. I won't. Okay, well, maybe you don't know me. I won't stop. I won't stop until I get what I want, So I went into the church. And I went to meet the pastor at the time, told him who I was, explained my condition, and he said, okay, he'll get back to me. Long story short, he got back to me and said we should pay some humongous, I think it was $1 million or so was it per month?
Or
$1 million naira, no, per annum. Yeah, per annum. That they expected us to pay. I said, from where to where? Where will I get $1 million naira as rent for space? But guess what? That church didn't give us that space. But that pastor I met that day held my hand, took me to the place where we're at now. Still on the same street, but further down, yes. Just a stone throw, right? And he says, I know this person. Speak to him, he can help you. And he speaks Hausa very fluently. There was no way I would have communicated with the caretaker because I don't speak Hausa. I can't even say a word in Hausa. So God, that's what I was saying
God
to you.
God was just raising helpers for you.
Even till tomorrow, if there's a need, there will be people. Till tomorrow, there will always be at every stage. Maybe when that person's time is done, they will move on. And I have learned not to hold any grievances or not to feel offended. Yes, because I just realized that God has put you in my path for this period. You understand? Do you understand? Fantastic. That's it. Time and season. There will always be people. There will always be somebody. So that's how God reassured me consistently that I'm in this thing. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. So yes, today, to the glory of God, we're building our own facility on our own land, right? I think that's as much as I can divulge on this live, but
I'm going to find time to come and see your facility. Please, we'll need to do that before the end of May, because we're having the 14th edition of the Purpose Discovery Academy in the month of May. This will be a virtual edition before the physical edition in September, so that we can do some recordings and show our participants like your success story. Because towards the end of the Purpose School, we usually do what we call case studies. We bring real life stories, not from the Bible, not from a way in history where the people have already gone, left the earth. We bring real life examples. Yes. People who discovered purpose, develop potential, develop capacity, and are right in the center of God's will for their life, so that these young people can be inspired, informed, and also influenced correctly. That there's no overnight success. People, you said so many things, and different scriptures were just jumping at me. Foreigners will stand to build your walls. That's what the Bible says. The funding you have received has come mostly from abroad. Scriptures also say he would lead. I said it to my wife this morning. that the footsteps of the righteous are ordered
Ordered
of the
by
Lord.
God.
You know, you won't
Absolutely.
even
And it
know
will
that,
cause you to
you are
stand before kings and not mean men.
not mean
You
men.
know,
If you are
so,
diligent in your
oh,
own
wait.
business,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
busybody, not
Yeah.
busybody business. You know, some people are very busy, but they are not productive because they have not found their life's work. They are
So
just
I'll
busy.
just give you a quick, I'll just give you two quick examples.
Okay.
You know, after we had exhausted, you know, our savings, you know, all of those things. I had now left work, so there was no money coming in. Of course, it got to a point where we were cash trapped, right?
Okay.
We had invested in machines did not work and all that. I can still remember. So till today, I don't know who sent me that link. You know, there are very strange things that happened in my life.
Yeah.
Someone sent me a link and I just applied. You know how you just apply to these things, right? And it was for International Women's Day. I think it was it should be 2018 or 2019 because I know it was before COVID, you know. And I applied to this event. It was supposed to be an opportunity for women to come and pitch their businesses. If you see the number of women in that place that day, like I just came, I carried my laptop, I could just, you know, I'm the kind of person that you might misread the book from the cover. I mind my business. I stay in my lane. So I could easily be mistaken for a snob until you come close to me and understand the kind of person I am. So I was there that day and people were talking about how they're exporting their products to 10 countries. You know, people had physical products, brought their stuff, you know. Some that had met me in some places before that knew me that I didn't even know. You know, they were women. Wow. To cut the long story short. And it got to the point where all I had was my flyer. That was all I brought that day. My flyers. And, you know, we pitched first round. I made first round. This thing I'm telling you, we're like, maybe, oh my gosh, I see my girl. Sorry.
Not a problem.
My yes, that's my sister-in-law.
Oh, wow.
As
Thanks
my
for joining,
husband will call her
madam.
my girlfriend. So I can't just continue when I see her join. Anyway, so I can still remember that day, first round. There was a lady that was doing robotics. She brought all her big boxes of different things. I'm just trying to paint a picture to you. And we scaled through the first stage. And then they were like, oh, you guys, there's going to be a second round. We had stayed there the whole day. I was tired. I was hungry. I was fatigued. I just wanted to be done. There was another lady that did bags, some very lovely bags with adire and, wow. Some very, with gang for her targets. People are very high posh people, so, and me, I was collecting trash, and so I already had looked at all these people and I'm like, people that were exporting their products to five countries, those kind of intimidating data, so, but I didn't send myself. Like I said, I still can't remember who sent me that link because when I won, they only needed one winner. There was no second place. That's the first competition I've ever seen that there was no runner up, nothing. They only wanted one winner.
One person.
And yours truly was the person who won that day. I don't know how. The judges just saw the solution and were like, what? This exists in Lagos, in Nigeria? They were just blown away. I was shocked. I still have the pictures that day. I knelt down and raised up my hands. Somebody said to me that it's only an entrepreneur that is cash-strapped that will understand the meaning of this picture because that 1 million naira at that point was like 60 billion, like $100 trillion. I'm telling you, because it was really bad at that time in the organization. So that's the thing I said earlier, that at every point God always does something. Yes, God always does something to make me continue. The CNN interview, we had just gotten into that place where Baba had shown us, and we're still trying to put the place together. And they reached out. Actually, when she sent the message that day. I thought it was scam. You know, I was like, hey, I went to meet my husband. I said, see them, they've come. Scammers, you know. I said, they don't come. People have jam rock.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so from CNN, blah, 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 blah. Would like to. I said, Mike, from where? To CNN. You know, so I didn't believe. I had to go and Google her name. Because these are things people lobby for, people, you know, push for. And she just sent me a WhatsApp message. Somebody, recommended, you know, talk. I think she reached out to somebody and said, oh, we want to feature this. And they said, oh, meet Greenhill. And her message even came in before the person who had introduced me. She said, oh, I gave your number to the person, she will reach out. But she had already reached out. So when I saw her message, I said, I know this is scam. Until that lady then sent a message to say, I gave your number. I was like, oh, wait a minute, this can be real, oh. You know, and I went, searched her name, and I saw that she was truly a CNN, you know,
wow, where did you go for the interview? Here in Nigeria, you traveled to...
Yeah, they covered our work, our story.
Okay. Wow.
And you see the beautiful thing, and I think that's another thing I want to say to people: be authentic. There's no need lying about anything.
Yeah.
When they reached out, we had just moved into that new space, so all the materials, the huge heaps of plastics, over 15 tons that we had in the other space that they kicked us out from. We didn't have it. We were trying to rebuild. So it was like building again from scratch. I always tell people that I've built Greenhill twice from scratch. And it's true.
Wow.
When COVID happened, it brought us down. It was, at some point, it was only me. All my staff left. Everybody left. And we built again from scratch. So there's no need lying. When she reached out, I told her, we just got a new place. We're trying to put it up. And she was like, oh, no problem. We'll wait. You know? Who tells you that? CNN will tell you that they will wait for you.
They'll
like
wait.
how?
Wow.
Do you understand?
That was God. Things will come
and then,
to the brightness of your rising.
And then somehow, in the process of the shooting, one of their staff then got COVID. So they had to delay. You know, so God was just buying us time. They had to then pause the shooting for a while because they had to make sure they were all okay to, to be exposed.
Time to finish what you were building.
Time to at least collect some things. If you watch that video, you will see they were just tiny little plastics on one corner. And they shot it like that. You know,
is the video on your Instagram handle? Is the video on your Instagram handle?
Yeah, the video is there. There. You know, I didn't have to lie or then go to another person's facility because I see a lot of these things happen. You know, go to another person's facility and go and pose and say that it's yours. You know, because I think that God rewards all of these processes. I'm telling you, a lot of things that you do and you just feel you seem stupid. You don't look like you're sharp to the world, right?
Yeah.
But before God, these things honor Him and He rewards them.
Wow.
So.
Wow. This is a master class. You are giving us a master class on how to pioneer a business from scratch using God's methods. Using God's methods. It's very important. You know, in 2016, I think it's 2016, I was led by the Holy Spirit to start, I'll call it free business coaching on Twitter. I called it Kickstarters of Vision, 18th of August 2016. Just tweeting every Monday by 6 p.m. Yeah, and God just told me, share what you know. Share everything that I have taught you that has built Purpose Center to this point. And I was just sharing and just sharing. Do you know, God magnified it so much that it became a full conference within 2 years. Wow. That's a conversation for another day. That I was shocked at how much it grew, and we had 4 physical conferences, and the momentum was just building before COVID now, just shut the entire world down from just tweeting. So some of the things you said, in tonight, I'm going to go back to those tweets, and I think we'll still have to bring you back for a physical conference for women seriously, in due time. So because of time, I want us to tie up these 2 questions together. what would you advise a younger version of Miriam, right? What would you advise your younger version, maybe at the age of 16 or 15? The reason I'm saying, asking this question is, I woke up 2 days ago, and the verse of the Bible that came strongly to my heart was Luke 1:27. So I was like, what's in this? So I went to check it, and I saw where it said, and God sent an angel to a virgin girl. So I was wondering, what's all of this? What's all of this? Do you know that it's from your story tonight that I'm gaining insight on what God was trying to say to me, which is to resume our Kickstarters of Vision workshop, because it was more tilted to helping girls pioneer their dreams, because there's really we don't have a lot of organizations or a lot of people focusing on the girl child, showing the girl child that, see, you don't need a man to become who to be married to do great things. When God was going to change the history of humanity, he looked for a teenage girl called Mary and pioneered the greatest vision that has passed through this earth. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me again?
Yeah, but
okay.
Yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
you lost me for a bit. So, so at 16 years old, the average girl today, the average 16-year-old girl today, her greatest dream, if she's not already on the other side of the fence, her greatest dream would be, I'm dreaming to marry a rich, wealthy man. She's not seeing herself as somebody who has some value to change the world, to help society and all of that. So the average teenage girl lacks capacity to have vision, to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader that would be doing great things. And mostly because they are usually watching all this romantic Mexican Telemundo on television and all of that. So, which is not bad, which is not a crime or a sin, but much more, we need women like you, your stories, to be out there for young girls to get draw inspiration from, so that when they are weaving their hair in the salon, your stories will kind of be weaving their minds and making up their minds to see that a great life is possible when I find God's purpose for me. And like Mary, there's a dream God will want to birth through me. So what would be your advice to the 16-year-old version of you? And then your final words tonight to any female entrepreneur watching this. Looking back, this month was dedicated to women in two capacities: International Women's Day and also Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So every mother is a woman, and every woman will become a mother. Not necessarily a biological birth, but you are the mother to Greenhill. So no woman is permitted to be barren. So you must. I'm saying this to every woman here. You have two wombs. There's a spiritual womb you carry, and the biological womb in you to birth children. So listening to videos like this and watching stories like this will help you activate your spiritual womb so that you can give birth to the dream that God had in mind when he sent you into the earth. So please, everybody, go and follow MCIZE at MCIZE. That's Mariam Lawani's handle, and look for anything that has Greenhill on it and follow. Right? So final words tonight. Advice to your 16-year-old version of you, and final words to entrepreneurs who are females.
Okay. I mean, it's amazing when you're having fun how time flies. I didn't even realize that it's almost we've been here for almost 2 hours. And I mean, I can't even say how blessed I am for you to have, giving us the opportunity to inspire, even if it's just one or two people this evening. So for me, I won't, how do I put this now without sounding cocky? When I look back at my life as a younger girl, I didn't make a lot of mistakes. I think God had his mark on my head from a very young age. So somehow, somehow I looked at my older siblings and I just learned. I didn't just want wahala, so I just threaded the straight and narrow, very early in my life. So I wouldn't look back and say, oh, so many things I would have changed, right? I don't really have so many things I would have changed.
Wow,
I think I loved. Yeah, I'm happy for myself too. This is a conversation that I have with my husband. It's like, God just liked you, Sha, from a very, because I mean, some of the things that, like you said, young girls do these days, it's not because some of them are just misguided, some of them are just misinformed, and they've just set their priorities very wrongly. And that's why we need to, like you said, speak more, to change all of these narratives. So there aren't a lot of things I would have loved to change per se. But I wish that, one of the things I would have said to my 16-year-old self is develop a relationship with the Holy Spirit sooner, If I had developed a relationship. So I was religious, right? No doubt. I was religious, but I did not have, hold on, just wait for me. I did not have that relationship with the Holy Spirit at 16. No, I didn't. I can't even lie, So, and now that I see all that he's done with my life in this short time, I'm imagining what would have happened, what would have been if I started earlier.
Wow.
So that's the only bit. And then for female entrepreneurs that are on this call or would watch this video later on, there are no limits. The only limits are the ones you set for yourself. I'll say that again. There are no limits. The only limits are the ones you set for yourself. Like
somebody please help us type that in the comment section. There are no limits. The only limits are the limits you set for yourself. Wow.
God said,
to give somebody a mindset reset. This statement should give a woman a mindset reset tonight. So please, I want us, somebody should type it. Toby, please type it. That's my PA. Toby, please type that in the comment section now before she continues, so that we can keep recycling that wisdom for the rest of. So there are no limits except the limits that you set for yourself. Wow, that's powerful.
Do you understand? Because the word of God even says that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And like I like to say, who is your father? God is your father. I don't say it in a disrespectful way, because I say, people, they know me in church. I'm like, who is your daddy? Do you understand? Like, if the entire world is God's and you are God's, you are a joint heir with Christ, you are one of His, then the world is yours.
Life is yours.
You understand? The world is your paint. The world, how do they call it now? You can paint whatever story. Is your canvas, is your blank canvas. You can paint whatever story that you want to paint. Just start, and don't listen a lot to some of the naysayers, because they will always be there. The naysayers would always be there. I mean, was it not Moi, some lady at some point was selling that took her to the White House? Remember that story? Moi.
Yes, yes. She's on our radar. Bring up. So we're going to bring up one of these Thursdays.
Yes. Moi. So, do you understand? So,
wow.
For me, nothing, impossibilities are nothing. It doesn't exist except you put them there, And my life is a testament to that fact. And that's why a lot of times, even when I'm getting so busy or caught up, when I'm drifting and I'm not hearing from the guy at the top, I
From
know that, hey,
headquarters.
Miriam, you better, retrace your steps, and make sure
Yeah.
you're constantly getting from the headquarters, from the source. So I just want to thank without sounding too spiritual, right? We know that there is
Please, you are
nothing,
free to sound spiritual on this head to head.
there's nothing
Please. Because
that we see, there's nothing that we see physically, right, manifesting that has not already existed in the spiritual. And I'm beginning to see a trend right now, right? A lot of people who are making global impacts. Go and check. They are children of God.
Oh, yes.
And they are not ashamed. They are not ashamed to say it. They are unashamed about, their
our
relationship with Christ.
Yes.
Gone are the days where you hide it and you don't want, you're trying to be modest. No. If you check it, you will see that these people have a foundation in Christ, unashamedly.
Oh, yes.
And somehow, game just recognizes game.
We are not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God unto salvation. Yes, and the gospel. Sorry, let me just chip this in. And I said this last week at a church where we went to train their workers. That you, as a Christian, you don't necessarily need a pulpit ministry to be in ministry. Your ministry is wherever God has planted you, placed you to pull men out of the pit. It can be the excellent way you are doing your uncommon business that will minister Christ to someone and say, what's your secret? Why are you doing recycling business with so much passion? And you tell the person, God said, replenish the earth, or God showed me this, So it's so crucial that more Christians understand it. So please just finish your point. I just have to chip that in. Somebody said, preach it, Pastor Lawani. Yes, preach it.
Don't mind him. I saw his comment.
At this point, we should just take an offering for Pastor Lawani, please. Let's.
But it's so true, it's so true. You can't separate the two, you can't separate the two, and then there's something about gaining clarity. There's still so much to discover. I keep saying it. There is so much. Like we have not started. There's so much ahead of us. The future is so beautiful. It's so bright. It's so pregnant, right? But you would not uncover all of that by your own wisdom.
Yes.
Yes. It's there. Our righteousness is like a filthy rag before God. We cannot come with our own wisdom. We must, seek Him so that it begins to unfold those things, those huge plans and, great things that He has in store for us. So, thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me. I hope and pray and trust that somebody has been, jolted out of their, being careful mode, to be able to take that step. If you don't move, nothing will happen. If you don't move, nothing will happen. You just have to move. And God will keep raising people at every stage, every point of that journey. So thank you very much, Mr. Purpose, for having me. And thank you so much for what you do. Uncovering purpose for several people across the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. So, people, you've heard the story of Mrs. Mariam Lawani. We usually say this in the Purpose Discovery Academy, that whatsoever is worth doing, normally it's said is worth doing well. But if you don't know how to do it, it is worth doing badly until you get it right. It is worth doing badly at first until you get it right. This is the story of a woman who launched out to answer what I believe is a call of God upon her life through entrepreneurial drive into the recycling industry. And it's not what you don't have that limits you, rather it is what you have but don't know how to use that may limit you in your own vision, in your own pursuit of purpose. And lastly tonight, the reason I'm holding this bottle is so that you can always remember that there is always treasure in your trash if you treasure your trash.
Yes.
There's always treasure in your trash.
Waste is a currency,
yeah.
And we've been able to prove that waste is a currency,
now,
and we're using it to address gaps in education, in health, and even in enterprise.
Wow.
You know, so please, your waste is your resource, and it's a currency.
Your resource. Stop wasting your waste. Start converting your waste. Thank you very much, Mrs. Lawani. We will be back again next week with another wonderful guest. You need to be here next week to listen to the story of our guest. She's also a woman who moved from biochemistry to writing scripts and writing movies. So, and she's a multi-millionaire today, and she's rewriting her own story. I've had fun listening to your story, interviewing you. I hope to do this again with you at a different platform, but surely we're going to come to your factory very soon so that we can do our own. CNN has done their own documentary. The Purpose crew will
have you. I mean, by the end of May, by God's grace, our own facility on our own land will be ready by God's grace.
Amen.
So we are more than happy to have you.
Thank you, ma. A greater you will see, and a greater dimension of your vision. And definitely you are a city set upon a hill which cannot be hidden. Thank you for your time, your investment, and sharing from your heart with everyone. Waste Chief, I see you, sir. Thank you for staying till this point. Shout out to Vicky Tom. Shout out to all those who joined in and stayed till the end. This is over 90 minutes. God bless you, everybody. We'll see you again next week with another wonderful guest on Head to Head. Keep living a life of purpose. Exceed as you proceed, everybody. God bless you. Thank you.